Hello everyone. Now we are going to see about risk mitigation, monitoring, and management topic. And we have seen in the past videos that what is risk and what are the various strategies of risk handling. Finally, if we want to mitigate and monitor and manage the risk, then what are the various things that we should take care? We will see in this video. Going ahead. We have discussed we should know the background. An effective strategy for dealing with the risk must consider three issues. First of all, the risk should be the risk mitigation should be there. Risk mitigation means we should have some plan that can help us to avoid the risk. For in the initial cases, that we should have a plan and we should have a particular way in which we can avoid the factors that are risky in our project plan, right? And the second thing is called risk monitoring. That means we want to monitor whether those parameters are becoming true or not, right? For example, suppose we are very concerned that the house should not catch fire. Okay, so we install a fire alarm or a fire sensor in our kitchen, in our drawing rooms, in our various places in our house. So what this particular installation it is a risk avoidance or a risk mitigation strategy, right? And it is the installation of such sensors around the house is an perfect example of risk avoidance, that we want to avoid the risk. That's why we are installing such sensors around. Or you can say you have now you have multiple sensors in your vehicles like cars. When you drive it back, or when you want to have when you stop it somewhere, the sensors give you certain data. The installation of those sensors in your vehicle is also a example of risk mitigation because the risk of getting damaged or getting hurt in an accident is extremely like bad. So to mitigate that risk, you are installing those sensors. Second thing is what these sensors are doing. They are continuously monitoring the environment around because they are designed to do so. And with this, what they are trying to predict whether the risk that for which they are being designed is becoming true or not. The probability of becoming true or not should be there. Suppose you're driving your car, you're parking your car in a parking slot, and you have a wall behind it. So the sensors around in your car will beep when something comes very close to your car. That beep is the output of the monitoring that the sensors are doing right now. And finally, if something happens, if something bad happens, then we should have some mitigation and contingency plan that can overcome the risk, like your insurance that you have, right? That insurance do you have, whether it is a life insurance or a property insurance or a liability insurance that you have. You actually have those insurance so to mitigate the loss that happened due to the occurrence of the risk. So this is the three basic issues that any strategy of managing a risk should have. Risk mitigation or avoidance is the primary strategy and is achieved through a plan, like the risk of high staff turnover. So the turnover means people leaving out your organization at a very fast rate. So if people come in, they take up the training, they work for some time and they leave. So that thing is very very problematic for any organization, because every organization actually invest a lot of money and time in training a particular employee, right? So to reduce the staff turnover, these are the some simple set of uh, measures that you not measurements measures that you should that every manager should take care of, because the risk of getting out people coming back, retaining the people is very high. Meet the current staff to determine cause of turnovers, poor working conditions, low pay, competitive job market, maybe there. Then mitigate those causes that are under your control and before the project starts. Likewise, you assume once project commences, assume turnover will occur and develop technique to ensure continuity when people leave. So that suppose you cannot stop the turnover, you cannot force someone to work in your organization until he doesn't want to work. So what you can do, you can create backups. Okay, if somebody is very crucial, he should have a proper backup. So once he leave, the backup that you created should take over his job, and your continuity of your work still goes on. And you organize or define or conduct or assign different staff members for critical technologies. So these are certain set of things that you need to do if you want to reduce the risk of the turnover in your organization. Likewise, you can think of any other risky situation and how you come out of the situation. So the things that you plan and how you come out of the situation are the risk avoidance steps. Now, during this monitoring, the project manager monitors factors that may provide an indication of whether the risk is becoming more or less likely true. The risk management and contingency planning assume that the mitigation efforts have failed and the risk has become a reality. That means this management will come into place only when the all the strategies of risk avoidance and the monitoring actually fails, right? And now it is the risk has become true and you are going to face the consequences now. So the same thing happens, you are have sensors, you are wearing a seat belt, but somebody hits you from the other side. Okay, now you already have an insurance plan, you already have installed sensors in your car, but all those things, mitigation and monitoring, fails because you were under control but somebody was not under control, he hits your car. Now the risk had occurred, the accident risk hasn't occurred, and now you have to pay the consequences, you have to pay the medical fees and everything else. So there was an insurance plan, there was a contingency amount that you have invested somewhere that will pay up your damages. So the risk monitoring management and management steps incur additional project cost. Large projects maybe have 30 to 40 risks. So if you have a big project, you need to identify multiple risks that may raise to 30 to 40 type of risk. Risk is not limited to software project itself. Risk can occur after software has been delivered to the user. Now, the RRM plan, it is maybe a part of a software development plan, or it may be written somewhere as a separate document. Once the RMMM risk um, uh, mitigation, monitoring, and management has been documented and the project has begun, the risk mitigation monitoring steps begin. Okay, so at the first stage is we are creating avoidance steps, and then we are monitoring those steps. So in the mitigation is a problem advocacy activity and monitoring is a project tracking activity. This monitoring has three objectives. First, to assess whether the predicted risks do in fact occur. To ensure that the risk aversion steps defined in the risk are being properly applied. And the third, to collect information that can be used for future risk analysis. So these are the three basic steps of risk monitoring. First is to assess whether the risk predicted risks do in fact occur. So I have avoidance in place. Now I'm monitoring the state of the parameters, whether the predicted risk for which that particular avoidance technique has been implemented is actually gathering the correct data or not. Okay, whether my risk is becoming true or not, right? And then I want to see whether those steps that I have planned for monitoring is applied in the same order or in the same fashion that I have thought of. And finally, when I have a lot of data, I can use those data for the multiple type of analysis, right? So there are seven principles for risk management. First is to maintain a global perspective, view software risk within the context of system and the business problem that is intended to solve. So you should have a global perspective, like turnover. Turnover is not related to the software industry. It might be on the medical or it might be on the financial, or there are lots of industries. So the risk is not limited to a particular domain, a particular section of society, a particular vertical, but it may expand to n number of verticals. Take a forward-looking view. Think about risks that may arise in future. Establish contingency plan. So this can only happen if you have a lot of experience and you know what things can occur in future and how to mitigate those mishappenings. Like your parents have. Your parents know whether this thing is going when you're moving in certain direction in your life. They say don't do this. Why they say? Because they know that if you do this, you will hurt yourself or you will be at loss sometime. So they try to mitigate the risk by telling you this you should not do this, right? And they also keep on monitoring, and they also have a contingency. Okay, you think of everything. Encourage open communication, encourage all stakeholders and users to point out risk at any time. So you should give everybody its own space so that he can actually, if he feels like this is a risky thing, he can come up and he can tell this is the risk that is going to happen, or this thing may be a risky thing, don't go ahead with this. So this is called as open communication. Integrated risk management, that means you should have multiple strategies to of risk consideration. Emphasize on continuous process of risk management. Develop a shared project vision and encourage teamwork while managing risk. So these are certain set of principles that helps you to manage the risk in a organization. So overall, much is whenever much is reading on a software project, common sense distract risk analysis. Yet most project managers do it informally and superficially, if at all. However, the time spent on risk management results in less upheavals during the project, great ability to track and control the project, and a confidence that comes with planning of problems before they occur. So, risk management can absorb a significant amount of project planning effort, but the effort is worth it because risk actually costs you in manpower, it may cost you in money, it may cost you in time. So, if you don't manage the risk properly, you will be at loss on all these three fronts. Okay, so doing risk management is actually should be a habit that every person should have. Before you do anything, you should actually have that habit of seeing foreseeing the risk and know how to manage the risk. That's all for the risk management. We will come up for other topic like uh, like design and then quality control in upcoming lectures. Thank you.